What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah, CB myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One set.
What's Up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the One Set Podcast. As you all know, or are coming here for the first time, my name is Anthony Irvin. I'm here with my co-host, co-host and best friend, Mr. Jim Green. How you doing, my friend?
You wouldn't think that we have been doing this for 3 years, 150 episodes.
150 episodes. This is nuts. Dude, I know we say this on a lot of, like, when we get to these moments, but when we started this, we knew we were invested in something, doing something, and making this like a weekly thing and just hanging out and, just talking what we love, music, dance, wrestling, sports, whatever. But I would never have thought, we were doing this consistently for 3 years. And just, now we're on 150 episodes, and it's just insane. Like, I've never been this committed to anything like on a weekly basis. And again, it's like we've been uploading an episode every week for the last 150 episodes. And now that I say that, something's going to go wrong. So I'm doing all my superstitions and all that. But it's been a ride already, and just 150, it's insane.
Yeah, and I didn't go into it like the start of our journey before episode 1 thinking like, oh yeah, I'm like, I had a certain time frame of like, we'll see how it is, and if like it isn't going super well, then I'm gonna can it on my end. It was more so I was like, we'll see, like, let's see where we are in a year. Like, so we got to episode 50, which was 2 weeks before we were a full year in, obviously.
Yes.
Now we're in the first week of November, and the every 50 episode mark that we kind of use as our like milestone marker. Obviously the 3-digit number 100 was like a pretty big deal for the both of us, because it was like, wow, like, yeah, I think that for the both of us was like, we've been doing this for almost 2 years. And we had your revamp of Until We Meet Again. I had the little dancey dance thing to Dreamers Are Believers. This is good though. Like, I know we've talked off air, and edit this out if you want to. I know this year has been challenging in that just getting together isn't super feasible for in-person recordings. But I think going forward, that might be changing sooner than later, right?
It could be changing a little bit.
Changing.
But
more on that to come.
More on that to come.
Yeah.
I can't say much about it yet, but it will be coming in the coming weeks until I know that it's definite. But there could be, in the next season, a lot more in-person episodes, as we can probably say that. Have you ever wanted to start your podcast but didn't know where to start? The One Set Bros are here to talk to you about Zencastr. Zencastr is the ultimate-based podcasting solution, and now the all-in-one podcasting platform, making podcasting easy. They've sure made it easy for us to be able to record our podcast and our episodes every week for you guys. Once you've set up your account, you're simply one click away from recording a high-quality podcast with studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. My personal favorite feature is their multi-layer backups, which ensure our recordings are always in the highest quality, even during unstable web connections. And if you thought you needed multiple tools and services for your podcast, Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform allows you to create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to Zencastr.com/pricing and use our code OneSetPod, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences we do with all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.
What I was driving at was, by the time we hit episode 200, we should do another like milestone banger episode, because
Absolutely.
I know today we are gonna get into some fun stuff, because it's been probably a month, maybe 6 weeks since we have really even like dived into like general sports talk, and we haven't really touched on current WWE stuff for wrestling.
Yeah.
Because we were watching the McMahon documentary and doing those episode watch alongs. So, pardon me. I'm excited that we, like last week, shout out to our buddy, our friend Matt Holland, for jumping on with us last week as a guest to talk all things Halloween. That was really, really cool to have him on board. Thank you, Matt, for joining us, and we will see you soon, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah, he'll definitely be back in the near future. We'll get him on for a couple things, and it was cool. It was cool. And thank you everybody who watched that episode. We definitely put a lot of time into making that one, and just reminiscing on all things Halloween, like Jim was saying, and it was just fun to sit down and talk with the three of us. It's been a while since we've done something like that, so it was fun.
I threw like the party for Cheyenne, and the three of us were there, but we were all very much like moving around, talking to different people, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just the three of us to be able to get together and talk was really, really cool.
I agree.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, like Anthony said, thank you to everyone that tuned into that one. And thank you to everyone who's kind of been on this journey with us for the past 3 years. I got to give a shout out to my brother from another mother, Steve Kopic, who checks in with us and says that he loves what we are doing. And just hearing that from him on like a semi-regular basis, it's pretty damn cool. So Steve, love you, brother. Thank you so much for your support.
Yes, thank you, Steve.
Hope all is well with you.
It's cool to know that like we're doing this every week, and sometimes I'm sure this is just like any podcast. You sometimes think like, how many listeners do we really have, and like how many people are actually really like solid listeners every week. I mean, we're a very small podcast, so it's not like we're in the thousands of listeners and stuff. I mean, but again, we went into this not expecting to be in the top 10 podcasts or the top 100 podcasts in the US. That's a very small margin of people, and you got to know people. You got to have people coming on that are going to be interesting, and just in that type of spectrum. We're just happy to be doing this every week, just being able to talk amongst whatever we want. And but it's cool to know, even when we did our live episode this past year at Wrestlemania, to know that like we had 2 or 3 people just out of the blue, we had no clue who they were, and just coming up to us and say, hey, we've been listening to your podcast for X amount of months. And we're like, wow, like that really set a tone for us to be like, we're just not sitting here every week literally just talking to a camera and nobody's listening. Like, we are having random people coming in and listening and tuning in. So that was really eye-opening for us, that like it continues to make us do this, but not being that's the only reason, but it gives us even more motivation to be like, okay, we actually do have a little bit of an audience, so we want to continue to cater to that audience and know, okay, what are you guys liking? Do you like these type of topics, this topic? And we're always trying to expand. So it's really humbling to see that, even for a small podcast, we can, have people reach out that we don't even know, and they just come up to us and like, yeah, we've been watching. You guys are a great duo, you know?
Yeah, I think if we wanted to break like our instead of just like milestones being like, oh, we got another 50 episodes under our belts. I feel like the first year was us like finding ourselves and like what makes the
Yeah.
podcast fun and what like works.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like the second year, um, I feel like your end of production just ramped up so much, and I feel like
Yeah.
we knew, okay, like this this episode theme or concept worked. Let's do something like that, but put a different spin on it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I feel like the episode flow and dynamic for season 2 was really great. And I think that the milestone marker for these past 50 episodes was literally that live recording at WrestleMania and just having uh random fans of our podcast be like, yeah, we listen to you guys like a lot. And we were like,
Yeah.
really? Other people listen to this? This is awesome.
Yeah. It
um
was so cool.
yeah, it was the bomb. And I don't think Anth and I could extend our gratitude enough to
Uh-huh.
even just people that they didn't have to stop and say
Whoopsie.
to us, literally. um
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was like the highlight of the last 50 episodes that we've had. So going into the next 50, going towards episode 200, I'm excited to see like what our big milestone marker is for that. And
Mm-hmm.
just we have a lot of really cool things coming through. Definitely some adjustments, but
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't be doing the podcast the same way as episode 1 all these weeks, months, and years.
Yeah.
So looking forward to some new while tapping into some OG uh, stuff that kind of work to be able to give our fans and our audience a little bit more of a hybrid dynamic, something a little bit of new, a little bit of old.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Anth, let's talk about the Eagles.
Yeah, man. Since their bye week, they've been on a roll, and I am, you know, glad to see that their season is definitely back on board because, after before that bye week, I mean, you know, 2-2, and let's just say this: you and me are not that far off from our prediction still. So we're very close. We're still we're within like one games of our predictions.
I tend to be not as optimistic because of how their season ended last year.
Yeah.
So coming into this, I think I had them ending at like 9-7.
Hmm.
And I think you had them ending at 11-5. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, which I still think that can be pretty reasonable.
At
You
this
know,
point, I would have to agree because there were definitely wins that they picked up after the bye week that I'm like, okay, I actually had them losing the Cincinnati game to Joe Burrow, and we actually played really good.
yeah, and I mean, I thought we were playing amazing this past week, and you know, I was over at my parents watching the game, and right when Nick Sirianni started going for two on that, I'm like, okay, this is where the game's about to turn. Like, what is he doing? Going for two when you're up by 16 points. You know, you're in a margin where you don't need to risk anything. Take the points, kick it. Your defense has been killing all game. Go for the points. And I'm not sure if it's his ego that's getting in, seeing like, oh well, let's see how much I can overthink myself, or maybe I can psych myself out to be like, you Nick, you would go for one, but go for two. Like, let that inner voice just not come out every once in a while. Like, just go for the points. Like, Elliot's back there on the bench, and he's like, "I'm right here, bro." Like, and then when he gets in the game, he gives him a 57 yarder. You know, So we're glad that
Doesn't seem like a path for success for your kicker, right? Just
no,
always
but
going for two for half of the game and then
I
saying,
mean
"Oh
that
yeah,
was what, like another 10 to 15 points that he let off the board. It could even with if you would have kept uh the points that they scored, we still should have won that game like 38-16 or 23, yeah, 23 to like 38. We should have been around 40 points with the extra, with the two extra points and the two field goals. Yeah, I mean, that was at least like, extra like 13, 15 points. I could be off a little bit, but still that was another at least like two touchdowns within that. So that could have been deciding the game for us. We could have easily lost that game if it wasn't for that interception.
yeah." Well, going for it on fourth down, or not fourth down, going for those extra 2 points. I didn't understand it.
I didn't either.
I not when you're up by so many points, like you were saying. Like two
Yeah.
2 points are usually just to get you out of like, oh, if they get two field goals, they could
Right.
tie it.
Because at that point, like they had to score two touchdowns and a field goal to get back in the game. So I'm not sure if he was thinking that, like, God forbid they do, at least we would be tied. But still, like you're you're playing at a great rate. They're unable to stop you. So why do you need 2 points? Even if you scored again and they had scored, then you can probably think about it. You can think about another two, but I don't know what his thought process was. I just hope uh, somebody had talked to him after that game and be like, dude, you need to not, let those points off the board like that ever again. Because that could have easily cost us the game.
Should we talk about Saquon Barkley?
I was just gonna say, can we talk about the backwards hurdle that everybody's talking about? That play is going to be like inserted into Philly's history, right? Probably right next to Philly.
Oh, it's going into the Madden games. Like they
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be his secret cheat code move in Madden for sure. Yeah.
they threw the Pat Mahomes side throw
Uh-huh.
pass into the Madden games, because he's Pat Mahomes. Um, that was because I haven't gotten to watch a lot of the Eagles like so far this season. I got to watch the last two, but even the Cincinnati game, I had it on, but I wasn't like intently watching the game. So
Yeah, this week was the first week out of the last four since the bye I was able to watch the whole game, like start to finish.
start to finish.
I was just either the last couple weeks, I was just either watching through my phone or watching on TV, but not paying attention, just seeing it and like walking along and trying to keep updated on it. But this was the first time I was able to actually sit down and watch the game start to finish.
Yeah, I was
So,
at my sister Kim's place for the first half of the game, and then by the time we got back here, I think I put the game back on, but we were like not really paying attention because we were so far ahead. We've been watching Bates Motel, and I'm like really wrapped in and dialed into that show right now. So I was like, yeah, I mean, we're like, it looks like we're gonna win this game. So it was halfway through the third quarter, and we were up by so much. Put on an episode of Bates Motel, and then the next episode I think was starting, and Cheyenne looked at the score and was like, "Uh-oh, like the Jaguars are like starting to come back. People are furious, saying that they might lose this game." And I was like, "All right, let me tune in for the ending." So we put the game back
like
on.
they literally scored two. They scored 3 times in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, is Trevor Lawrence the only decent player on the Jags? And when I say decent, I don't think he looked stellar, but he was really the only one driving in the points, right?
I think. I mean, I know they have the one wide receiver. I think that is probably one of their star players. I can't really remember the name, But yeah, Trevor Lawrence gets a lot of the heat on that team. I mean, it's like because I think they had a decent season last year. I think they went into the playoffs, but then they lost in like the first or second round. Like they were doing pretty good in the second half of the year, but I know they're having a rough year right now. But yeah, I mean Trevor Lawrence, it's like when he's on, but when he's off, he's like really bad.
Yeah.
So it's like the consistency with him, I think, is just one of those things.
It just sounds like it's if he's at home playing a middle of the road team, he's probably fine. If he's away, probably not. If he's playing a team that is an established team, no chance, right?
No chance.
No chance.
And at least we can say that this is like the first time out of the last 4 that Jalen's had a turnover, an interception. Because the first 4 games, he acquired like 8 or 9 interceptions. So out of the last 4, he's only had 1 or 2. So that's a little more reasonable. So at least he's corrected that. And I like that he's running a lot more.
Well,
I think him and Saquon have, clicked on, their offensive term because, Saquon is a beast as it is. And then, Jalen being the strong guy he is, I think he's Jalen's almost running like he did 2 years ago.
Well, it's from what I'm reading because I wasn't following the Giants because I could care less about them.
Yeah.
But apparently Saquon, or at least the vibe that everyone's getting, is he's feeling pretty good to be part of a team where he feels like he's able to showcase how good that he really is. And the backwards hurdle is just speaks to that entirely, right?
Absolutely.
So
yeah, he's definitely vibing out this year. Just like, hey, you could definitely tell he's vibing with the teammates and just getting into rhythm. And especially those first couple games, Saquon was definitely like here and there. But I think it was last week or was it this week? It was like the first half. He had already ran over 100 yards, rushing yards. I think he was already in the first half, and he was already past 100 rushing yards. So that was insane. And I think it was within the first 8 games, like it was like the quickest running back, I think, to almost get to passing the 1,000 rushing yards.
Yeah, he was doing that
games.
in the first couple of games. He was doing big stuff like that. What was it? The Bucks game? The Bucks game was where he didn't catch the ball in the end zone, right?
Yes, that was the one where he did not catch that in the end zone, which could have, gave us the win. So that's like everybody's like, oh, well, that, if we would have caught that, we would have been 1-2, or we would have been 2-0 at that point.
Was that the Bucks game?
Yeah, because we did. That was the second week. So yeah, we would have been 2-0.
Or was that the Falcons game?
I think it was the Bucks.
I think,
or maybe it was maybe it was the Falcons.
I think it was the Falcons because I remember kind of getting to watch that game, and I know I didn't get to watch the Bucks game at all, and I remember seeing that. I might be wrong, but at any rate.
But I do remember the play. It was right in his hands and he just dropped it. But
you couldn't blame us losing the game on that one play specifically. It could have helped us win the game.
Like crap.
We were playing like doo-doo.
Like it was really to the point where we thought we were reverting back to what we were playing like last year.
Yeah.
And something within that bye week sparked everybody because they came out in that Bengals game and just lit everything up, took out the Giants. So we were like, okay, this is definitely a brand new Eagles team that, the bye did them good. So, we're on a winning streak. I don't think it's going to continue. I think, we got Dallas next week, and supposedly Dak is hurt with a hamstring issue. Not sure if it's possibly going to take him out of the game. I'm not sure how hurt he really is.
They said Dak was out.
Did they say he's out?
Yeah, they ruled
him
out.
He is out?
Yep.
Okay. So we're getting a Dakless Cowboys team next week. You know,
You say next week, but this is coming out on Friday the 8th. We play them this Sunday the 10th.
that's what I mean. Next week, this week,
Yeah.
So this week coming in, so this Sunday we played Dallas, and then we got the Commanders
Next Thursday. So
so that's a quick turnover, and depending on how the Cowboys game goes, it could really determine how we play on that Thursday. Because if we cream the Cowboys, maybe going in that Thursday it won't be as bad. But if we're battling the Cowboys and it goes down to like last plays and like this and that, we're gonna be tired as hell for the Commanders on that Thursday, and they could take advantage of that.
yeah, I mean, we are playing the Commanders in Washington next Thursday. I will say that the Commanders are playing the Steelers on Sunday. And
And
the
and they're
Steelers,
a good team too.
the Steelers, they're not a super great team, but they're not a bad team. So
they will be a challenge for the Commanders at least, because that's what a lot of people are saying, like, oh well, I mean, they're not really playing that many good teams, so I mean, it really just depends on when they're winning, who are they really winning against, and that's kind of how I felt about these last 4 games as well with the Eagles. I mean, the Bengals, they've been having an off season. The Jags have been having an off season. Giants, we know what Giants are. Who's the other team?
Bengals.
It was the Bengals, Giants, Jags.
You mean who do the Eagles play before?
I was saying the last 4 that we did was the Bengals, Giants, Jags, or was that the last 3 that we did?
I have the schedule right here. So we just had the Jags. We played Cincinnati the week before that. We played the Giants the week before that. We played the Browns the week before that.
There you go. That's the team, the Browns. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much like, so it's like they're not star quality teams. Like I said, like when we get to like the Ravens, if we play good against the Ravens, then we can start, really saying like, okay, we got a good caliber football team. If we're, really puffing our chest out with playing the Ravens and keeping up with them, then we can really start saying stuff. LA Rams, I'm not too worried about.
They can
because it can go either way.
They can be good, and we're playing them in LA. Our friend Michael Wynn, when I was talking to him, was that yesterday? It might have been later last week. He said that the Rams and the Ravens game are like the 2 losses that he can foresee us eating.
Yeah.
And he's like, everything else, winnable games easily.
I feel the same. I mean, if we're going to win, or if we're going to lose something in the next 4 games, I could definitely see one definitely being the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
I'm okay with taking a loss for that.
Yep.
But as long as it's not a blowout. I mean, if we play good against them, but we lose, I'm going to be okay. But as long as we don't get a blowout. LA Rams, I can see that going 50-50.
Yeah.
I think I definitely took the Ravens, and then I took I took Eagles beating the Rams over the Ravens. I think.
I don't have your sheet.
I don't think I did 0-2 for those. I think I did one or the other.
Yes, I do. I have it right here.
Great.
Hold on. This thing that I woke up with under my freaking pillow.
He was dreaming about it, folks.
I was sobbing myself to sleep because I'm like, damn, Anthony has them at 6-2, and it's. So I will say that we had them losing to Dallas in Dallas, and I think the Eagles are going to get that win. I think
at this point, yeah, they have a better chance of winning now that Dak's out of there, and as long as their defense is not really that great this year, and the whole team itself is definitely at a point where like even Dak was saying on the sideline, we suck. So I mean, for your star quarterback to be saying that to somebody like we suck, you got to be starting to think like, okay, I mean, let's just start tanking at this point.
Yeah. So
right, Scooter.
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 So we both had them losing to Dallas, but beating the Commanders. I actually foresee that going the other way. Just because I know how good the Commanders have been. I'll tell you, if the Eagles can pick up a good win in Dallas and beat the Commanders in Washington 4 nights later for Thursday Night Football, we've got 10 days to rest up before we go to LA and play the Rams, which is good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think we could pick up that win. It's just the Ravens the week after. Yeah, I see us catching that loss. Now, again, if we pull out the win, it screams to me Eagles Lions NFC Championship, right? Like
That would be amazing. I mean, like I said, if we can go 3-1 in these next 4 games, that would be really good.
Yeah.
I mean, 2-2 still wouldn't be bad, especially with where we are right now. That would put us at 8-4, which is still not too bad. You're still a contender for the playoffs at that point.
After the Ravens, we host the Panthers, which is a scheduled win for us, by the way.
Yeah.
So
who's talking about the Panthers anyway? It's just like, yeah, it's just like, okay, just put the W on there.
Yeah. We're talking about why that whole organization hasn't been fired yet.
Right. Yeah.
After that,
I thought we sold you already.
Bitch, I sold your ass.
But yeah, I mean, it's good that after this bye, the last 4 weeks, we're starting to see the team come together, and I felt that's probably what needed to happen, because especially with having new coaches this year, a couple new players coming in, especially the loss of Kelsey, Hurts had to be adjusted to a new center. So, he's just now getting used to that center, and even the center was not having that great of games. He was fumbling the ball. He was, hiking the ball too high, too low. He was not listening to certain commands. So, he was getting himself tuned into it too. But now I think him and Jalen are clicking a lot more, and and then Jalen literally having to learn a whole brand new call list, like a playlist. So he had to learn a whole new playbook. So he had a lot on his plate over the summer.
Well,
so
and realistically, Jason Kelsey retires, who was the locker room leader, and now Jalen Hurts has assumed that role. So
right,
yeah,
so it's a lot of pressure,
a lot of adjusting. I'd have to agree.
But I think they're definitely in tune with starting to play their best football right now. And I mean, I would rather them be on this run now than seeing it in the beginning of the year, and then like having us think like what happened last year. Like we were 10-0, but we were on the verge of like, okay, we could have lost a lot of those games, but hey, we're 10-0, whatever. And then it just started getting really crappy. At least the first 4 games, we went 2-2, but we knew we had some things to work on. They had a good bye. They came back. We're on a winning streak. And it looks like we're in the point where, we could potentially only really lose another 2 or 3 at most, because the rest are pretty much winnable games at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's after the Panthers,
because they're mostly division games.
Well, after the Panthers, we host the Steelers, and then it's the 3 division games, and that's it. That's the season. So, yeah. I mean, the only thing to consider is our last game of the season is against the Giants, which is beautiful, I might say.
Mm-hmm.
I might add.
And depending on that,
we might be putting second string in. Like if we're already in postseason contention.
And depending on how because the Commanders, they have a harder second half of the year than we do. So they're not out of the woods yet either. I don't think we have an easy. I think we have an easier second half of the season than the Commanders. They still have to play a couple good teams. from what I'm aware of.
And the Commanders started off looking strong, so they might
Yeah,
start getting picked apart. You don't wish injuries on
exactly.
people, generally speaking, but injuries could definitely happen and derail the rest of their season for sure.
Yep.
Um,
So we'll see at that point whether it's like, okay, maybe the Eagles, the Commanders lose a couple and we sneak into the first spot and we get home. We'll get some type of, we win the division, maybe not home field advantage, but, we win our division at least. And, maybe that last week against the Giants, we can just play second string and be ready for the playoffs. That would be the ideal position to be in.
yeah.
Because usually we're used to playing those last 2 weeks to be deciding, if we win the division or not, or usually going into the playoffs or not. So, it really depends on the next couple games and then coming into that. So, but I'm excited. Thankfully, it seemed like they've turned some things around. Things are starting to click, and hey, go Birds! Never a dull moment with the Birds.
Go Birds. It was nice that I was able to watch that game.
Yeah,
Like I said, I skipped out on like halfway through the third quarter until halfway into the fourth quarter, but I was able to see the Eagles look good like that.
mm-hmm.
I mean, Jalen looked really good
Yes,
overall. I know
it's good. It's definitely good to see him being more confident now. Because you could definitely tell since last year and into those first 4 games, like you can still tell he was a little off. Like there was something that wasn't clicking with him.
well, it was
You
all
didn't
the
know what it
adjusting.
was. That just adjusting to this, adjusting to that. I'm sure everybody reminiscing on what happened last year. Is there any old things that are going back into what's been going on in the first 4 games? But you know they obviously did something within that bye, and Jalen's playing his best football right now. And like I was saying earlier, he almost looks like
2 years ago.
2022,
Yep.
like a 2022 Jalen Hurts, where if he doesn't see, he's and if he sees the lane going, he's going to rush for it. Now, do I like it? I do, but that also sets him up for injury. So that's always something you got to worry about and make sure that he doesn't, because sometimes he can get carried away. But I think I'm more confident with him doing it rather than Carson, because I think Jalen's a lot more stronger than Carson.
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
So, I mean,
dude
but
squatted
again,
600 pounds in college. Like, come on.
yeah, I mean, come on now. But quickly, we can say, we almost thought we were going to get Wentz coming in from Mahomes on that Monday Night Football last night, because I was like, dude, let's go. I was happy to see Wentz, but then again, Pat's like, nah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like, well, Wentz got a couple throws on the sideline, so he was good. Like, I was almost happy with Steve Carson. Like, okay, cool. Like, this is his moment to say, hey, I still got something. But then Pat's like, nah, you ain't doing that to me, son. Like, feel the bench, son.
Andy Reid was like, man, sit your ass down.
Sit your ass down. But yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are they only have one loss too, so they're 8-1 or 7-1. So they're
I think they're
or
undefeated still.
are they still undefeated?
I think they're still undefeated.
I thought they had one loss, but maybe I was wrong.
They're riding on 8-0, bro.
8-0. Okay. Well, they are the Chiefs, so
they're the dynasty team, man. No one else is shutting it down like they are right now. They are the. I was talking to Mike saying, well, they're like the modern day Tom Brady, New England Patriots, and he was
definitely
like
making them out to be the modern day Patriots team.
He's like, yeah, no, they're better because they're not cheating like the Patriots did, right?
Now.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about the Birds because we haven't too much, and it's good to be able to talk about them in positive vibes, right? In a good way.
Yeah. because like I said, it's been a little shaky with those. But dude, let's get in to talking about your fills. We have yet to talk about this because, like you said, we're doing the McMahon series, and during that time, we had the unfortunate, thing of them getting knocked out early when we had an incredible season with them. But the whole thing is like maybe they peaked a little too early, and then in the summer they were starting to go on a little bender. They were losing, but then they started coming back. But then uh, it's like they just couldn't hit. It was almost like in the World Series last year. Like they just could not hit a ball to save their lives.
Yeah, just
Yeah, it was
just
like
an unimaginable letdown with how strong that they started up until the All-Star
yeah,
break. Yeah, their their August was like really not good at all. So then it
yeah,
was like, okay, if they can full blown turn it around in September, we'll be fine. They didn't. So I did not have high hopes. I like went out of my way to watch the games, but in my gut, I was just like, they're not winning the World Series. It's not going to happen. I mean, I was
yeah.
I was boasting about Red October. Here we go, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, postseason baseball changes everything. Not changes everything, but everything changes once they get to the postseason. Um,
Yeah,
they really didn't. And
seems like they didn't even come in that focused. Like they just expected to just come in there and get the wins just because they were home, but it just didn't.
I mean,
Uh, they weren't playing like they should have.
when we were hosting the Mets in the NLDS, I was like, okay, we get games 1 and 2, and if it goes to game five at home,
Yeah,
um, I just knew that the Mets had so much momentum coming into the postseason because they just barely made it in on the very last possible day that they could get in. Which,
yeah.
by the way, the Hurricanes down south pushed that game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the last game that they had with the Braves was on like the Monday after the regular season ended for everybody else. So the Mets just had the momentum and the energy, and so for the Phillies to have won Game 2 after we got crushed Game 1, the Phillies won Game 2, but they had to fight to get that win.
Yeah,
And then they went to New York, they lost Game 3, and then they just lost Game 4. And I was like,
yeah.
this is it set me into such a post baseball season depression.
Mm-hmm. Because we had such high expectations just from again how the season was going. They were doing so good, and we're like, dude, we might actually get somewhere this year. I mean, they're on a roll, but you know, again, it's like the same thing. Is there a thing of as like peaking too early?
I mean,
Because if
they
you
definitely
can
did.
lose momentum, yeah. So you can lose momentum and be out for a little bit, but it's a matter of getting out of that and hopefully sparking up a new wave of wins and stuff. But I don't think they ever got back to that. They were at least winning some stuff to get themselves back into it, because what, they were like 10-15 games ahead of the division at one point, and then I think it went to the point where they were only like 6 or 5 games.
Yeah, I think they got 12 games ahead at one point.
Yeah,
Because
so
I had my eye on
they had
that
a
like every
very
day.
big margin.
Yeah. Um. After the Phillies, after the Phillies stepped out or checked out of the postseason, and then went to the Final Four, being Final Four. Final Four was the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Guardians, and the Mets. And I was like, I'm rooting for the Guardians because they're the team that I dislike the least. I was like, Guardians could do it. they're strong, and I'm okay with it. I was like, definitely not the Mets. And then it was like, I was like, I'd be okay with a Yankees Dodgers juggernaut World Series.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I think I'd rather the Dodgers win than the Yankees, just because the Yankees have the most championships of any team. So you don't want them adding to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just watching the World Series games, and I'm watching, I think it was game 4. It was definitely game 4. And Mookie Betts goes to jump to make a catch, and it's going into the stands, right into the first row. The guy, Mookie Betts, had the ball in his glove, and a guy in the stands just grabs his glove,
Yeah.
and Mookie Betts is just dangling like this, and
Right.
the guy's got his glove.
Is literally taking the ball out of his glove.
Yeah, I
Like,
as
talk
soon,
about never being allowed back to the stadium, like, ever.
yeah.
Like, for that guy.
Well, they had tickets to Game 5, and they told people that they were going because the Yankees wound up winning that game, which I was so salty about, because as soon as that happened, I was like, I hope the Dodgers
Whoopsie.
smoke them now, right?
Yeah, right?
But yeah, they wound up losing that one, and then the Dodgers wound up winning the next night, like the whole thing. And by that point, I was like, yeah, I want the Dodgers to win. I kind of wanted it to go to Game 6 just so the Dodgers could win in LA. I never liked the World Series, the team that wins winning it away. Like, it's just the celebration.
Yeah, it
The
doesn't hit the
celebration is
same,
not the
obviously.
same, right?
Yeah, I was always felt the same way with like basketball too. Like when the team that wins isn't at home and they win not in their hometown. Yeah, it's obviously not the way you would want it. You always want to win in your hometown. You get the
Sure.
confetti, you get the whole big thing. So it's always never the best, but hey, when you got to win it, you got to win it. But it's always better to win it at home in front of all your fans and everything. But yeah, it definitely doesn't hit the same.
Yeah. Yeah, so lots of changes coming up for the Phillies, minus the fact now this came off as like kind of a shock.
Mm-hmm.
The owner, Dombrowski, I think it was, in a press conference just a couple days after they were done, said all of the managerial staff is staying. None of them are losing their jobs, and everyone was pretty shocked about that, especially the batting coach. It's like, what is this guy doing with these guys that make $300+ million, that have $300 million
Thank you.
salary contracts?
But they can't hit a damn ball.
I was like, something's got to go. Something's got to give.
Right.
And if it's not the players that are in that top 3 position, being Schwarber, Turner, and Harper. Now, obviously, Turner and Harper are there for extended amount of time, many, many years left to go on their contracts.
But even Schwarber, I mean, he was. I felt that he was like sleeping that whole series, like against the Mets. You know, I mean, I think he had 1 or 2, but like you didn't even hear his name come up in like most of those last couple of games. Like, and he's a heavy hitter most of the times. He's usually the guy like we really rely on outside of, Harper and Turner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you said, like how are these like batting coaches? What are they, doing in practices, like giving them repetitions when these are your prime guys that, you should be expecting them to be getting at least 2-3 big plays each game for the amount of money they're being paid. Well, but then they couldn't do anything.
I think it's under the pretense, because I did hear this like quite a bit on the radio on 94.1 WIP.
Mm-hmm.
Your guys that are known as like big hitters, the batting coach is probably not telling them how to swing the bat at that point in their careers, right?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine telling Harper, like, you should probably do it this way?
Yeah.
Like, you should probably shut.
Whoopsie. Yeah.
Like I'm getting paid $300,000. I think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like,
So
okay,
I kind of understand that perspective.
yeah,
But I think that there's going to be some major roster changes. I just think there has to be.
yeah. I heard they're trying to get somebody right now. I forget the name.
Juan Soto.
Yeah, I keep hearing that from WIP. Like the rumor is they're trying to get him.
He's the hottest free agent, like
So
coming out of the Yankees. So totally makes sense. If we wind up scoring him,
it would be great.
Hills,
But
yeah. But don't get your hopes up, kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's move on from the Phillies. I think I'm done with them for the moment because it's making me sad again.
Yeah, and then I was just gonna tell you, like, I want to talk about this just for 5 minutes because if I give myself any more time, this is gonna be another 2-hour podcast. So let's just take 5 minutes and 5 minutes only to talk about this Embiid situation.
I'm clocking
because this is pissing me off to the most of pissed off situations at all. I mean, it's to the point where in the summer they were already getting to the point where, like, yeah, he's on the Olympic team, but is he going to be ready for the regular season? Because 9 times out of 10, when he's on the off season, he's not doing anything to keep himself in shape, and then it takes him that much time to get himself back in shape in the regular season. Then when the regular season comes in, you start seeing that obviously Paul George got hurt. He has a knee injury. It's happens. Whatever. But then you get this thing with Embiid saying, like, I'm not gonna be playing back-to-back games. Like, what the hell is that? Like, you're a professional basketball player. You can't play back-to-back games. Here's the thing, and I can't even say that I back him on this, but big guys his stature, you're living on borrowed time because of how big you are. Your knees do end up going. I give him that to an extent, but still, you're a professional basketball player. If you can't continue to play back-to-back games, you shouldn't be playing at all. And now he's trying to say, well, I'm only going to be playing half the season. And the Sixers are on board for it because they're probably thinking, well, he's always at the end of the year, either injured or, totally exhausted. So maybe if we play him less during the regular season, because to them, they think the regular season record doesn't matter too much, where I think it's a yes or no. It can definitely help you in the playoffs, but it still is in the playoffs. Like, you still have to play your best games because you can be playing, a bad team can be playing a good team. And if they're just on a good run, they could be, the upset of that playoff, and they can get themselves right into, the conference finals or championship. But I don't know how they think that, like, oh, well, we're just not going to play him until later in the season so that hopefully he's healthier so we can win a championship. I don't think that's going to work anyway, because it's just like, I don't know. I'm just so mad. And then the fact that, he's trying to say, like, I've done so much for this city. Oh, really? Because we forgot that you already won us a championship.
Oh, wait. That never happened.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I forgot that you won us a championship. Wait, that never happened. So what have you done for this city other than getting us to a conference championship, and, flopping in it, getting us to the second round, flopping in that, and then just always getting injured, never coming prepared, never coming in conditioned. It's to the point where if he's just doing this to get himself easily more to be traded, I'm like, cool. If this is going to get you traded even faster, bye. See ya. Then comes out today, they're like, oh, well, we're going to suspend Joel Embiid for 3 games. Like, he wasn't going to play those games anyway, so you're just giving him a reason to sit down anyway. Like,
yeah, but he's suspended without pay for those games. Is
that. And then somebody was like, they should have done more punishment, saying, like, he's going to play all 3 of those games back to back to back. That would have been more punishment. I would have definitely agree with that. Just like, dude, you're going to have to play these games with no pay.
Yeah.
That would have been easier punishment than just saying, like, well, you're already taken off, so we're going to give you 3 more games off. Like, you're like, cool. And they definitely got to fine him in some way, because that just makes no sense.
I will say I did hear about Marcus, the reporter, and
Yeah,
like the stuff he was saying crossed the line, right?
definitely.
Definitely
I
crossed
definitely
the
agree
line.
with that. I think reporters definitely, when it comes to family, off limits, no matter what.
Yeah.
You never touch family
Yep.
in that type of sense, because that has nothing to do with the professional athletes anyway.
Yep.
So, I think to an extent that guy should be, fined, suspended, or something on that aspect, because he just went totally off. And I don't think, from what I heard, I don't think it's the first time that he's done something like that.
I did
So
hear the
he's
same
known
thing.
to
Yep.
doing something like that. So, that's definitely, I will be on Embiid's side on that. Not saying that he should have hit him or anything, but saying that was out of line, and everything. I definitely agree. I'm for and behind on Embiid on that. That's the only thing I'll give him credit for. But
Yeah, the regular season games not mattering for the postseason. How about your seeding? Okay, because I mean, home court advantage matters in the postseason.
it does.
Like
It
let's
does too. Just like anything. I mean, it's different with football because you don't have a series. You just have one
one
game.
game. Yeah, it's
So, I mean, basketball, home court advantage does still mean something, but you get to at least have more games where you're like, okay, 2-2, 1-1-1,
Mhm.
so it's like one, just like baseball. But, you know, I'm not sure if it's just like, well, I think there's so much more opportunities now in the game to get into the playoffs, even if you're a lower seed, than it was 10 years ago, where if you weren't in those first 8, seeds, you weren't even making it to the playoffs. Now it's like they have the losers bracket to get into the playoffs. So now it's like an extra opportunity. So that's what they probably think too. Like, well, even if we don't have one of the top records, we can get to the losers bracket and we can get into playoffs there. But that's just a crap mentality to as a team to say to your fans, like, well, we don't care about winning. We just, if we can always get into it in the losers bracket anyway. Nobody's paying you to just be like, nobody's paying to go and see you lose. They want to go out there and see you win 9 times out of 10. And for those fans to think that they're going to be okay with continuing to go there, pay that much amount of money, and see the team lose, it's going to backfire on them.
I just want to say I think it's a huge slap in the face to the fans that have season tickets. By the way,
Yes,
just want to put that out there.
absolutely. I agree. So, I mean, I know Nick, the new coach, he's like probably in a chokehold with that too, because he's like, this is like my second year, so what do I really got to do about that? What do I have to say about this and all, like, so he doesn't really have a lot of seniority with what he says around there too. So it's like, you feel bad for him, but he does have, you know, a lot of years coaching other basketball teams, so he should kind of know, hey, I mean, if you're not in condition coming in here, we need to get you in condition coming into the season. You're again, you're a professional basketball player. You get paid to play basketball. Why aren't you coming in conditioned?
Well,
They've tried to do that with Embiid for so many years, but he just continues to not take that serious. Like, his nutrition and everything has never been his high suit.
Steph Curry practicing free throws like he needs to in the off
Mm-hmm.
season. Joel Embiid playing video games.
Right.
So
So, I mean, it's a different type of game with a lot of these up and coming guys, like the Steph Currys. I mean, they are still used, and LeBron James, they're still used to playing with the Kobe's, the Jordans, and a lot of those other guys where, it was just, you put in the work, you get the time, you do all this. Where a lot of these guys now, it's, hey, if I don't want to play, I shouldn't have to play. And it's to the point where a lot of these guys are like, well, it's more on the players now, more than the uh the managers and the teams telling them what to do. So they're like, well, if I don't want to play, I shouldn't have to play. Where back then, it's like, you're playing, dude. Like, like the organization is, say like you're on prime TV. People expect you to be playing, so you're getting out there.
76ers are currently 1-6.
Trash.
1-5. Sorry.
Trash. Still.
The Bucks are the only worst team in the Eastern Conference. They are 1-6. So you're looking at the 76ers sitting at number 14, which I get it. There's 82 games in the season, still plenty of ball to play.
Yeah,
but that's how your season's starting. It's not.
But definitely in
not
your
great.
first 10 games, it should show you what your season's going to be like.
And it's
The first 10 games show you a lot. Kind of like after the first 4 games in football, you should kind of know what your season's going to be like.
Yeah.
So after your first 10 games of basketball, you should kind of get an idea of like, okay, we're going to be either making a run this year or it's going to be a shaky season. And, until Embiid realizes that he needs to get back on that court, because obviously right now, regardless of what he thinks, they definitely do better with him on the court. So until he gets on the court, they're going to be losing a lot more games.
And
because Maxey can't do it all by himself. And plus, I don't even think Paul George has started playing yet. So they're both out. So Maxey can't do it all. And he's putting up numbers too, but he can't do it all.
Hang on a second. Because I read that Paul George was supposed to be playing. Oh, yeah. He played. Did he play Monday? I think he did.
Okay.
But they played the Suns, and I mean, we lost.
I think they lost by like 1 or 2.
2 points. Yeah. 118 and 116.
Yeah.
And then they're going to play the Clippers tonight, which is Wednesday now. But at any rate, that's the Sixers, man. That's how their season is starting. And as far as the Flyers, I know we don't talk about them much. They are not off to the best start.
I haven't really kept with the Flyers yet, so that's a shame.
They are 4-8-1 to start the season. So
yeah, not too great.
At the very least, the Eagles are looking strong, and we will run with that for the time being, right?
Yeah, until something else comes along, and then we get upset again. So stay tuned, folks.
At the very least, the Eagles they should carry us until Royal Rumble season, and then that will get us to the road to WrestleMania. So with that,
get us to the Rumble.
Let's talk about Crown Jewel happened in Saudi Arabia this past Saturday. I will say I saw all of the matches, but some of them I saw parts of, and some of them I watched intently. And by watched intently, I don't think I watched any of them intently, top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see every match, but I watched the main ones that I thought were important. The Bloodline one, Cody and Gunther. I did watch the Andrade, Carmella Hayes, and LA Knight. I didn't see Seth Rollins. I wanted to see that match, so I'll probably go back and watch that.
It was good. That was a good one.
I heard good things about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Top of the card to the bottom.
Yeah.
Solo Sikoa's Bloodline defeats the original Bloodline. Solo Sikoa gets the definitive pin on Roman Reigns. They set up the angle with Sami Zayn after the match, which is just to stir speculation with if he's going to fall in line with the original Bloodline for their War Games match. So I think they're going to drag that out until War Games itself.
Yeah. Because obviously the end goal is to have Sammy go back with the OG guys and, I like I told you yesterday, I am totally on board for Solo taking the clean pin on Roman because, like you said, or like you said, Roman's been strong for the last 4 or 5 years. So him taking a clean pin right now is not hurting him at all. It's even more just giving him the fact that people are going to be on his side to eventually, take down this bloodline. So it's just giving Solo that much more power to get him over on his heel character. So I think it's great. And again, also to eventually, if you're trying to get Rock back in here within the next couple of months, that's giving even more power to what's to come with that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm all good for how the ending of that match happened.
Me too. And I think the way it was built and structured was really good all around.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Fatu looks just insane again.
The dude's amazing.
I mean, he's like the Saquon Barkley of the new bloodline, right? And by that,
yeah,
I mean,
like a dude that size should not be moving that much.
You can't
He's
even,
crazy.
You can't even say that Solo Sikoa is like Jalen Hurts, not even by a long shot, right?
No.
Okay, so that being said, I think the match, they took it kind of easy because they knew they were going to pull out all the stops in the War Games match anyway, which is this match was just building to that. It's why they put it on the opening match of the card, because they're like, you guys are...
I didn't really remember any like big spots or anything like crazy that went down. Like you said, I think they're waiting for the War Games to really go all out. That's gonna headline. That'll be their all end type of thing. Like, yeah, let's just put all the eggs in one basket for this one. I mean, it's not going to end there, but this is like one of the bigger first matches that they're having. So I think them having a little cooled off match is good for what they're about to go through with War Games.
Yeah. Let's move right along here because we could speculate and talk about it. I just kind of want to see
exactly.
Just get us to War Games, and then we'll be able to really just break down the direction of where they're going after that, right?
Yep, I agree.
Okay, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill defeat Damage Control, Kairi Sane and Io Sky, Meta 4, which is Lash Legend, and Jakara Jackson, who are new from NXT. I thought they looked pretty strong. And Chelsea Green and Doudrop, Piper Niven, rather.
Yeah, that new NXT team with Legend, yeah, she is looking good out there. Like, I saw them fighting on Raw, or was it it was SmackDown the last couple weeks, and I'm like, wow, this team's got it. So to see that they're actually getting like a little bit of a boost in that's good.
Well, I think it's good too, because like they brought Kevin Owens up to have his matches with John Cena while he was still the NXT champion.
Yep.
He was really the only one that like really just stepped in from NXT onto the main roster, but wasn't caught up to the main roster yet. So
yeah,
you have main roster talent going to NXT to try to get viewers on that show, to try to give those new up and coming stars the rub of working with people who are on the main roster. Why not bring NXT talent to Raw and SmackDown just sporadically here and there, just to see if they can hang with the main roster people on main roster television, right? So I am all for it.
Again, you were never getting that with Vince, but I think
I was just
Triple H just put those. Triple H is just giving them the chance to be like, hey, I want to see if you're ready for this level. Let's put you on a show, see what you got. If you can hang, we'll talk about getting you on the main roster or one of the things. But it really depends. So, I mean, he's giving these people opportunities, and just like Legend, and like they're really kicking it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think Vince would ever, try to be like, yeah, let's get some of these NXT people up here, because obviously he never really was a fan of NXT. But, it's just cool to see that there's more opportunities for them, and the fact that, like you said, the main roster is coming down to NXT to give those people opportunity, and get more viewers to watch NXT. So it's a great dynamic to be able to have them going back and forth between both those shows.
Yeah, I love it. I'm certainly here for it. I do want to say I thought it was really neat that they were able to get an 8-woman tag match in Saudi Arabia, because you obviously got Liv Morgan and Nia Jax, champion versus champion, facing each other for the Crown Jewel Women's Championship.
Yeah.
So to get another women's match on there for the tag team titles, and they managed to get 4 teams on there to get more women on the show.
Yes.
Great job. Definitely great, because I know the women, like I had read that the women were not happy because they weren't feeling valued or featured as much. So great job by Triple H yet again.
Absolutely.
Great match. As far as, I thought that they had some really nice spots set up, couple little botches here and there. I actually didn't think Io Sky looked that great, and we'll talk about her after the Crown Jewel recap, based on what happened on Raw. Seth Rollins defeats Bronson Reed by pinfall. Dude, go back and watch that match. It was really fun.
I definitely do. I heard good things, and you just raved about it, so that'll be something that I definitely watch tomorrow to kind of do a little review on. But especially the feud that they've been having over the last couple of months, I can definitely anticipate that the match was going to be great no matter what.
And the way it's set up, and the feud is continuing, which I like a lot. It gives Bronson Reed a formidable opponent. It keeps Seth Rollins occupied trying to give Bronson Reed that rub until he gets to the CM Punk feud leading to WrestleMania. It makes total freaking sense, and I am here for it. Yep,
all for it.
I'm not going to talk about that match at length because I would like you to watch it back, and we can talk about it another time. Liv Morgan defeats Nia Jax. I do like how wait a second. Oh, yeah. So you got Tiffy running in with the briefcase. You had Dirty Dom doing shenanigans. You had Raquel doing shenanigans. And basically it was Liv having both Dom and Raquel that helped get the win. So it doesn't really hurt Nia Jax like that.
Yeah.
Because Tiffany coming out with the briefcase actually hindered Nia's chances. It's not like Tiffany coming out was super helpful to Nia in the long run. It made sense as far as like the planning of everything. Weird.
It's definitely continuing to set up the fact that Tiff still might, cash her Money in the Bank on Nia.
I think that's
at some point.
I think that is a shoe-in.
Has to be the end goal.
Definitely
it's just been put on us the last month. It's like, well, I could. Now she's more out in the open with it, where she was more scared to say it, but now she's more out in the open. Like, I could cash in on you. You never know. I mean, well, you still have a championship, or I could cash in on Liv, but I still could cash in on you. Like, now she's more out in the open about saying it to Nia.
Well, and the fact that you had Liv Morgan and Nia Jax facing each other in the same ring at the same time, you had to get Tiffany Stratton out there. Like, it only makes sense that she would show up in that moment.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
So, well built, well done. Liv Morgan, I'm thrilled that she's getting the limelight right now, because I think, they realize outside of the 4 Horsewoman, granted, yes, Sasha's in AEW, Becky's gone for the foreseeable future. I mean, her contract, she's not even contracted with WWE.
No.
What's Bayley doing? I don't even know.
I mean, I know she was dealing with Tiff for a little while, but I'm not even sure at this point what she's doing, because she was dealing with the Nia and Tiff thing. But now that they've kind of made their focus on, you know, Liv Morgan, but I guess it was just temporarily because of the Crown Jewel stuff. But you know, we'll see what happens with Nia post on SmackDown, what her next thing is, or if somebody's going to step up and, you know, be the next person to be on that. So, well, wait, that no, that's for Liv Morgan, so that wasn't for Nia's championship. So it'll be Io Sky and Liv Morgan. That's right.
Yep. Here's a fun thought. Just to interject this right here. Charlotte is like ready. Like they're just waiting to bring her back.
I could definitely see her coming back in the next couple months for sure.
Do you think that they set up Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax at WrestleMania to give Nia Jax that WrestleMania match? Or do you think that they bring Charlotte back and have Charlotte go to face Tiffany Stratton for the title? Like, say Tiffany takes it off Nia around the Rumble, and then you get Charlotte facing Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania. I don't know if they do it right away.
Yeah.
I kind of want to say yes, just because, like, Charlotte goes away for months and then comes back and she's basically automatically in the title picture. It's just
which is it's been done before, but you know, it's too easy. But you know, what other way would you bring Charlotte back into some type of storyline? She's always usually at the top anyway.
Right.
So, you know, if you were to do the quick Nia and Tiff thing where she does take it off maybe during the Rumble or one of those things, then she has the title through the road to WrestleMania. You could eventually, in that line, get Charlotte coming back, and then they make that they make their thing at WrestleMania, or they could hold off for Charlotte after WrestleMania, and maybe they give Tiff and Nia Jax their match at WrestleMania. Tiff wins. Charlotte comes out the next night. They get a match at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I think that I feel like that is more of the route. I mean,
because you can get Tiff trying to clean the belt, cash in on Nia, but she loses. But they get a match at WrestleMania where she gets it at WrestleMania.
Like she fails the cash. Fails the cash.
She fails the. Yeah, I don't think she. It wouldn't. Not that it would make sense, but I would like to see that she tries to cash in prior to WrestleMania, fails, but then it leads to a match with Nia Jax at WrestleMania. That's where she picks up the win.
Yeah, at that point, we're talking about, like, does Tiffany Stratton fail the cash in and then win the Women's Royal Rumble or win the Women's Elimination Chamber kind of thing?
Yeah, you can put her in the chamber.
Yeah. I haven't really thought about the Rumble yet, man. Like, so my head's just not there yet.
Yeah, I think definitely by this time next month. Well, the Rumble's not until February, so we got about 2 months.
February 1st. It's
yeah, so we got a little bit more time.
Yeah.
So we got some time to start thinking about that.
Yeah. Let's
get back
to the
I don't even know where they're heading with that right now either.
Yeah.
But
not sure. And that's just a telltale sign of how good that the product is in the fall, where we're not like, oh my God, get me through this abysmal fall. Just get me straight.
Yeah.
Get me straight to January. Get me straight to the Rumble, which now, yes, is February 1st. But the product feels so important right now that I'm not even thinking about the Rumble yet.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
Because there's already so much that's going on now that, you know, you can't think too far ahead, because there's so much going on right now that can change up to it in that. So, I mean, I like your idea of Tiffany probably getting into the chamber. Now, whether it's before that she still has the briefcase, it can be 50-50. But I think it would make it more interesting if she cashes in and has an unsuccessful cash in, and she gets her way back at Nia by getting into the chamber. That can be a more meaningful way for Tiff, because I still think they're trying to push her, but they're just waiting for that right moment to excel her. So I think the elimination, instead of the Rumble being her moment, I would rather see it be in the chamber. So the other thing is, what woman would win the Rumble? That I don't know yet. I mean,
I think it's Rhea Ripley. Like,
the only other person in the list is obviously the top person, Rhea. She wins another Royal Rumble.
she wins a Rumble and then goes to face Liv for the belt at WrestleMania, and then you just let that story come to conclusion at WrestleMania. It makes the most sense.
Come to a conclusion at WrestleMania for sure. Yeah,
because that feud has been like the story goes back before WrestleMania. So I mean, the Liv Redemption tour, it's a year in the making. So I think that that has to be it.
Because I think probably even at that point, you might even be seeing the Judgment Day being done at that point as well. Because you can see, after Liv loses the belt, does Dom still stay with Liv? Does Dom just become, going on his own as another single thing? Does he, eventually, do we get him making amends with his dad? And, because, I'm not sure with, how much time his dad still has. He's probably, I don't know how much longer his contract is, but
yeah,
you got to think he's on borrowed time. Just that he's on borrowed time too.
I would have to say that Dom and Ray will have a one-on-one at WrestleMania, and Dom will beat his dad and retire him. Like that is the story, right?
I mean, I don't think I see Dom becoming a face anytime soon. I mean, he's just so good as a heel right now. I don't think they're turning him face anytime soon. But it's the matter of how they get him away from Liv, if they want to get him away from Liv at any point, because I still think there's something that's going to go down with Finn and Liv, that Liv is going to double cross Dom. And does he go back with Rhea at that point? There could be a stipulation within that WrestleMania match between Rhea and Liv, where maybe Dom finds out that Liv double crossed him and has been doing stuff with Finn behind his back. That leads him to costing Liv the match. Rhea wins. Dom and Rhea come back together. Who knows?
I just think if that were the case and Dom helped Rhea to win, that Rhea would just low blow Dom and everyone would be all over it. And then Dom's just off TV. Just let Dom take off time.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of situations, which is always great right now, but we got time.
You got time.
So it's cool. So, what's the next match?
Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton, never officially started, ruled no contest. These guys flew to Saudi Arabia to just beat the crap out of each other. And then and then literally it's like, okay, so we see that as a no DQ match that's happening at Survivor Series. Just to drag that feud on, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which I'm good with, unless they want to give us a triple threat with the two of them and Cody Rhodes. Wouldn't hate that.
No, because I still think Randy's gonna do something with Cody eventually. Because you can see every once in a while he's turning his head to that championship belt every once in a while, so he's giving signals that he wants that belt. So
the only thing I could say,
I still know how you get the match started.
The only thing I can think of is if they use the Randy and Kevin Owens match to set up a number one contenders match for Cody Rhodes at Saturday Night Main Event, because the rumor was the advertisement for Saturday Night Main Event is Cody Rhodes against Kevin Owens.
Okay.
So you use Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens at Survivor Series to build a number one contendership. Kevin Owens wins, goes to face Cody at Saturday Night Main Event in December, and then we get to the Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes feud for the Rumble.
Right.
Makes the most sense. And then after the Rumble, you might get Cody and Randy at Elimination Chamber, because you don't need that long to build The Rock versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. You just don't.
No.
The story already exists.
Yeah. We know it's coming. It's just a matter of when they pull the plug on it. Again, you don't need it to be drawn out with a long storyline. We already know the stipulation between those two because it was already peeled out from last WrestleMania. So they can just go off of what that was, because he obviously still has the same motives behind what he wants to do with Cody. So it's just a matter of when they bring Rock back in and how they're going to, make it a match at WrestleMania again. So
remember the night after WrestleMania when Rock gave Cody that thing, like he handed it to him, and we don't know what it is?
Yeah.
Literally all they have to do is bring up what that was, and it will close the gap for how long The Rock's been gone, and it will just resurface the feud, and we're back on, folks. Next match is LA Knight defeats Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. This match, I will go back and watch it again.
So good.
Over any other match on the card. I thought that,
like I told you, Carmelo and Andrade have been fighting for so long on SmackDown. It's been
their in-ring
so good.
Their in-ring chemistry.
It's to the point where even Little Anth, every time Little Anth is watching, I'll say, "Hey, they're watching," and he will run to the TV and watch them because he just loves the fact that they're just high flyers doing all the cool moves. He just loves watching them. Like this is cool stuff to watch. So they just are so good in the ring.
Give me a match with them.
And then to bring LA Knight on it was even better.
Give me a match with them at WrestleMania. I will not be mad about that. And
me neither.
And you're getting two guys that they wouldn't be vying for a title. They would literally just get to have a match that the crowd would be super into, right?
Definitely.
Where LA Knight goes from here, I don't know.
No.
I am curious. To see when Logan Paul comes back. He might just wind up being in the Rumble. And just
I was was thinking that the other day. I mean, that like, oh yeah, well, I mean, Logan Paul is on a small break, so he could just easily come back in the Rumble, or he could be another guy that comes in for the Elimination Chamber. So he could definitely be coming back within the next 2 to 3 months. So either the Rumble or the Elimination Chamber. Like I could definitely think one of those two, because I definitely don't think he passes up going to Vegas for WrestleMania. So he'll definitely be in Vegas.
Yeah, I think
it's just a matter of what he's going to be doing.
I think he'll be there for sure. The last match, Cody Rhodes versus Gunther. It was a very okay match.
Yeah, I mean, I was in and out of it, but for the most part, I'm like, it was what it needed to be. It wasn't like a high quality star match, but it was what it was.
I think it was their first time meeting in the ring kind of thing. And the way that they booked the finish, I thought was what needed to be done. Cody goes for the super Cody cutter from the top rope, and Gunther catches him for the sleeper. And then Cody just rolls back over and happens to pin him.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3. It's how it needed to go.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
Because, I mean, they're not going to be feuding with each other. So, I mean, you have to kind of leave it in some way where there's nothing that's going to be retaliated after that. They can just be like, okay, you got me. I respect you. See you later. It seems like that's what Gunther was meaning as, like, probably showing a sign of respect, but like, probably don't expect that to happen again.
Yeah, I think we're going to get Gunther choking out Cody at some point, because that was like the story that they told there. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Overall, I think that they have done a great job with the Saudi Arabia shows and making them feel like not glorified house shows. Like they feel like they're doing things over there that have implications for the feuds moving on, rather than these matches are just happening and then they go home and they're doing, like when they first started going to Saudi Arabia, it was just like, okay, these are the matches that we're putting on. And then when they came back home, it was like none of that ever even really happened. So
No. Yeah, because I mean, they started making it like Saudi Arabia is their own WrestleMania. Like they're putting out all the stops for it. And I'm not sure if you saw, like during the pre-show the day before, a lot of the fans, when Triple H was talking, I guess, on one of the press conferences with everybody, the fans were, hollering WrestleMania, WrestleMania. And he's like, yeah, it's in Vegas this year. And everybody just started booing him. So they obviously want a WrestleMania to come to Saudi Arabia, but nobody is going to be going to Saudi Arabia. So I do not see that happening. So I think that's even more for them to be like, we'll continue to do this show for you guys and make it as much of a WrestleMania event for you guys. But as far as it being an actual WrestleMania, don't see it happening like anytime soon. So
I really think that WWE looks at WrestleMania as whatever city gets to host WrestleMania, they are bringing so much money to that city. The WWE,
oh yeah,
I can't see WWE doing a WrestleMania outside of the States. Like I don't want to say ever.
no, I think they definitely will. I mean, I'm sure it's crossed their desk more than once. It's just I think they're just waiting for that right time to do it. I could definitely, I mean, probably not Canada, but like I could definitely see it like a London type thing, because it's pretty basic. Like, you can have something over there, kind of like football. They have like London and Brazil and stuff. But yeah, I don't see them getting out of the States within the next 5 to 10. So
no.
it'll be
Anyway,
interesting though.
that was Crown Jewel. The only things from Raw that are takeaways: Damian Priest is going on to face Gunther at Survivor Series. Io Sky
Yes.
is going on to face Liv Morgan.
Liv Morgan.
So I'm not sure if they wind up doing, like, maybe they do the same Fatal 4-Way qualifier matches on SmackDown for their respective titles.
Could be. Yeah.
Or Nick Aldis uses the KO and Randy thing and sets that up as the number one contenders match. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll definitely have to look forward to SmackDown to see what the next steps are for that one. And yeah, like I said, it's good to see that the fall wrestling is not as boring as what it usually is. Like, we're actually getting a lot of good storylines, good wrestling. So it looks like it's going to be pretty fun leading into the Mania year. So we still got a lot of stuff to play with. So yeah, Crown Jewel was good. You know, like we said, it's good that they're making it their own specific show. They got, the rings that they're going to be carrying around now, even though to the point where it has no value to it, but it's like having a Super Bowl ring to them. So, but all in all, it was good. And, if anybody has any comments about Crown Jewel or anything we talked about, feel free to leave a comment. And, hit us up on the Gmail, follow us on social media, like us here on YouTube. We upload every Friday at 9 a.m. And thank you for all our supporters and listeners. We love you guys. This has been episode 150. And here's to 150 more, dude. Thank you so much for being here, buddy. I love you.
Love you, bro. Thank you, everybody. Cheers. This has been One Set.
It's been One Set.